Hello, everybody. I'm really honored to be with you today, and I will share my experience, and hopefully it will be insightful for you. I'm trying to switch to the next slide. Okay. So I will be talking about NPS. So NPS is the loyalty indicator that we measure in our company, and trying to connect it with business growth and the major business KPIs. A couple of words about my company. Tele2 Russia. We are the fastest growing mobile company on the Russian market, and actually for 2 last years we were nominated as the fastest growing mature mobile operator in the world, with more than 11% in revenue growth, annual revenue growth. We have more than 46 million customers, over 8,000 employees, and operate on a federal level in 68 Russian regions, operating in all technologies that exist today in mobile area. We are a differentiator on the market. Our communication platform is Other Rules for mobile, and we are trying hard to be fair, simple, and best deal for our customers. And NPS leadership is our strategy. We are NPS leader on the market and truly love Mark. How we operate NPS as a business driver. We look at it at a market share growth driver as an indicator that helps us to focus on business decisions, as an early risk predictor, and NPS is also a common goal for all employees. And actually, we analyze and measure business effect on 2 levels. Macro level. On macro level, we look at NPS and correlation with business growth, market share growth, and customers and revenue. So how did overall impact on our business. And on micro level, we connect NPS with customers, customer segment, customer journeys, and business KPIs for different functions around the company. And of course, when we were taking a decision about including NPS as a bonus indicator for all levels in the company, it was extremely important to have a common understanding that NPS is a growth driver. And so these are some figures on loyalty on Russian market. So a black line is Tele2 NPS, and blue bars is the overall NPS on competitors. So you can clearly see that Tele2 is the true leader on the market, with the great gap from the closest competitor. But it was not always like this. We initiated customer experience started in Tele2 5 years ago in 2016, And in this point, we decided that NPS will become a strategic focus and like unique KPI that will unite all employees around the customer. And started from this point, NPS started to grow. And actually, this indicator is very much about the focus of every department in the company and every employee. And this focus helped us to increase NPS and to keep it on a sky-high level. But keeping NPS high, it's actually very hard because all competitors are focusing more and more on customers and the loyalty. So it's a really hard game to play, but it's worth it. And actually NPS, so customer loyalty, requires resources, requires investment. And I'm getting questions from C-level, from my management team almost every day. Why should we focus? Is it really the KPI that help us to be financially more sustainable? And the typical question is, what is the value of 1% of NPS, 1 percentage point? What is more important, NPS or the gap from the competitors? How much NPS is enough for growth? And where is the limit? And where is the floor that you just cannot go beneath? All of these are very, very tough, quite hard questions to answer and requires a lot of analytical data and skills to be able to find the relevant and business correct answers. So what we have defined for our company, that we have defined minimum NPS level that required for growth and minimum gap level that is required for growth. But here, it's important to mention that NPS financial model depends on corporate strategy. Actually, we decided that we would like to be a love mark on the market, to own hearts of our customers, and to focus on loyalty, to focus on relationship. But you can grow on the market even without being NPS leader. What we could see that Tele2 as the NPS leader, we show continuous growth. And the company who is outsider on the market in terms of customer loyalty and this recommendation level shows continuous decline on the market. And two other operators, they are kind of in the middle. So we all three are eating the weakest player. So this is how we find out the NPS works. So this graph might seem a little bit complicated, but it's about correlation between NPS level, customer base growth, revenue growth, and gap level, customer base growth, and revenue growth. So what we have done actually a deep and thorough analytics, collecting the data over the last 10 years, and just analyzing the, so we have a lot of regions inside Tele2, like 68 regions, so we have quite a huge bunch of data. Keep it in mind that NPS are measured. NPS top down is measured quarterly, per each region, per competitors. So we have market share data. So we could actually build this growth model and correlate NPS with the growth of customer base and revenue, and gap correlation with the growth of customer base and revenue. And what we found out, the higher level of NPS gives us a higher level of customer base growth tempo on the market. And the same with gap. The bigger is gap, the faster is the customer base and revenue growth. And actually, NPS and gap are very much interdependent on each other. So higher NPS gives higher gap, gives higher customer growth, gives higher revenue growth. But at the same level, you cannot grow NPS and gap like without the limit, because it depends. Yeah, you can, of course, but it depends on your strategy, and it depends on the budget that you have available. Because growing NPS and growing the gap require investment in quality, in customer service, in product, in marketing, in communication, in business processes. So you have to invest resources into every part of the system, every touch point. And so it was quite a tricky exercise to identify the right target for NPS and for gap. So we just defined the minimum level of NPS. So if you go below this target, it's I'm talking about gap now, because we are focused on NPS leadership. So gap is an important indicator. So we identified the level that shows no growth, when we will just lose customers and lose revenues. We don't want to go there. So we could clearly identify the minimum level of NPS gap that will support growth. But then if you go too high, then it will require too high budgets. So then we operate in the limit of budgets available within the current strategy. So then we identify the stretch level of gap. And this is the target gap interval that we are focusing as the bonus target indicators for the year. So this actually was about macro level, how we see it and how we use it for setting the company targets. And then day-to-day operation is very much related on the NPS correlation and functional business KPIs. So we use NPS as the indicator that helps us to improve our business day to day, like every day. And how to focus, it's also quite obvious. So we identify the most important NPS drivers for telecom market. In our case, it is quality, voice and internet. It is value for money. So the price and product that the customer will get, the quality of customer support, brand image, transparency, roaming, and actually it's a long list of drivers, but the most important are top three: quality, value for money, and customer support. And then we use these drivers to prioritize customer experience initiatives, correlate NPS with business KPIs and take day-to-day business decisions. What we have learned about NPS, and actually this was the very basic point that helped us a lot on the initial phase to set the scene for NPS and to use NPS in business cases. So what we learned that promoters are like truly bring to business more money than detractors. So promoters have higher business value due to bigger lifetime. So the churn rate for promoters are less than for detractors, and for higher revenues. So promoter just buy more services than detractors. This is one part of the story. And another very important part of the story is the true recommendations that promoters give. And we measure the actual recommendation rate in the new connection, in the new sales. So we have found that 30% of total new sales come to us thanks to recommendation of other clients. It's actually quite huge volume and quite huge percentage for the business. It means that actually we can save marketing and promotion and sales cost because customers bring new customers. And so this is very important to set the business case for improvement, because we are very much focused that every improvement that we recommend to the business must be aligned with the corporate strategy, must have value for the customer, so increase loyalty, and must have business value for the function, for all the functions that are participating in this improvement development. Another very fundamental and important story is the customer segments. So looking to the segments gives the very particular vision of problem area that we might have in the particular segments. So, for example, what we have learned, this actually changed the way how we operate our business and how we initiate improvements. We looked at customer age, customer gender, customer lifestyle, usage, and many attributes to understand better how the internally the loyalty and NPS works, and find out the areas for improvement. And we learned an interesting pattern that younger customer, it's actually I'm talking about mobile internet NPS, so it's transactional NPS in the touch point of mobile internet, because on this indicator we have a huge bunch of data, like millions and millions of customer answers that we can really analyze and quite have correct results in the end. So we found out that the younger customers actually have quite low NPS level, because their expectation and the way they're using mobile phone is very different from the more aged customers, for example. So, and their expectations and their requirements are really, really sky high. And at the same time, the value of, like in our case, for Tele2 in the Russian market, it works like this, like younger customers use much more mobile internet, much more like mobile services that elderly customers, and their value they are bringing are like 50% higher than in elderly segments. And at the same time, so we not only look at NPS by segment customer value, we also connect it with customer churn to understand the correlation between NPS and churn, and where we are losing not only loyalty but also real customers. And these areas are the areas of the particular focus of the business, not to lose customer from this segment, from like this particular type of behavior. Then it's one more scenario how we use NPS. We have a lot of projects with the functions like service, product, marketing, sales, digital, technical, to when we help functions to improve their business KPIs through the increasing customer loyalty. How does it work? I will show a couple of examples. One example is built on support quality. So we cooperate very, very tightly with the customer service department to find opportunities how to improve customer service experience, and at the same time make it more profitable for the business. So we operate 4 types of metrics: perception metrics, user experience metrics, internal process metrics, and outcome metrics. And our final destination actually is to find a correlation between perception metrics and outcome metrics. So to make sure that when customer perception increase, then we have also increase in our business metrics, like outcome metrics. Let's say we measure not only NPS, like for customer service, we measure a lot of perception metrics. Of course, it's not only NPS, it might be also like customer voice satisfaction metrics. We, for example, measure 3E, like resolution, customer efficiency, effort, and emotions. Efficiency means that issue is really solved. Efforts score means that actually it was effortless for the customer, and emotion score means that customer left with a good mood, with positive emotions. And so first step is to, actually it's very hard to jump directly from perception metrics to outcome metrics. It's almost impossible without having 2 extra layers in between. So first step is to correlate perception metric with user experience metric. So to understand who is happy customer and who is unhappy customer. For example, happy customer, we know that happy customer is the customer with have a response from support in not more than 20 seconds. It doesn't have to experience handovers between different employees. And his issue was solved very fast, say in 2 minutes at the first attempt. So these are experience metrics. And then we have to correlate this experience metric with internal process metrics. So how business can ensure that it's like this, that this experience, this user experience metrics will be provided on very sustainable manner. In our case, it might be service level that customer service measures the percentage of automated interactions, like percentage IVR or chatbot. It might be some metrics related to soft skills like empowerment, compensations that first-line employees might provide to the customer, and first call resolution. And outcome metrics that we would like to increase with the perception metrics increase is that we would like to decrease call volumes, we would like to decrease service costs, we would like to decrease churn, and we would like to increase revenue. Actually, it's all about the right customer journey to be in place and the right skills and tools of employees to provide, like to make sure that all the system will work. A couple of real examples of this correlation. Sorry. Yeah. We correlated NPS and waiting time. So we found out that it's not rocket science actually, but when you can like see it on numbers, it's very, very impressive. So we could see that the higher NPS level is when we have waiting time not more than 30 seconds. And if it grows more than 300 seconds, then it goes to the very, very negative area. The same with the call handling time. So customers who are forced to, like in the long discussions with the support line, they are actually absolutely not happy. And probably, most probably, they have a complicated issue that cannot be solved in a short time period. And the issues that were solved like fast, within a minute, that leave customers quite happy. And also important is that we measured revenue of happy and unhappy customers after call center support, after their call center contact center experience. And we found out that the revenue, 12 months revenue, like it's not even actually revenue, it's lifetime revenue, like including disconnect, like churn and customer revenue, is 10% more for promoters than for detractors. So keeping loyal, so making the customer happy, keeping them loyal, it's a really good business case for the company. I could see that there are not so many people participating in our discussion from mobile companies, so I can skip actually this example. It's more about the mobile experience, so the same like or just discuss it very, very fast. So it's the same logic for technical experience on the network, like mobile experience. So we use the same type of metrics, perception metrics, like is customer happy with his, say, video experience. So like, you could see the strong signal and the fast download, and he's happy to recommend. And then we have to analyze what lies below the customer happiness or unhappiness. For example, for video experience, what were really user experience metrics? So for video, what was the resolution, like buffering time, first frame delay, and what technology he was using. So these type of things. And then we correlated with internal process metrics, network KPIs, rollout priorities, and then with outcome metrics, like how much we have to invest in our network, how many new sales we would have, what will be the churn rate, and how much extra revenue from this improvement we might expect. So we also correlate customer technical experience and recommendation level with business outcome metrics. And this is some more precise example from NPS analytics on the network. So we correlate in particular area churn rate in the particular area, NPS in the locations, and the quality of mobile internet. So we could see the if quality goes down, NPS will go down, and churn rate will go up. So we have to focus on these red areas with low quality level, low NPS, and high churn. And first of all, invest in these areas, in customer experience, in these red areas. So, and in the end, I would quote Jeff Bezos when he, many years ago, actually 20 years ago, he said that if the company is obsessed over customer experience, in the long term, there is never any misalignment between customer interest and shareholder interest. And he proved to be absolutely right at this point. So actually, this are all my slides. I'm ready for questions.
Okay, Nina, firstly, thank you so much for the talk, sharing your experience at Tele2 Russia. We've got lots of questions in the chat here, so let's begin with the ones. Could you please elaborate a bit for the audience that is not familiar with what NPS and GAP is, what they are, and how do you measure them?
Okay. I will then pause my slides, so I could see the chat and the questions. NPS is net positive response. It's a widely recognized loyalty indicator measured from 0 to 10, and the customers are asked a very simple question. Are you ready to recommend the product and service that you use to your friends and family? And this indicator was introduced, I think, a couple of 10 years ago by consulting company Bain, and proved very strong correlation with business growth and with shareholder value of the company in the market. So many companies use this indicator as the loyalty indicator and predictor for future financial growth. And GAP is the distance between competitors measured by NPS. Well, for example, if we have NPS at the level of 50 and our competitor at the level of 40, then the gap will be 10 percentage point.
Great, thank you. So the next question was, you did have a slide with customer-based revenue, depending on NPS and GAP measures. And the question is how to calculate the first basis point of NPS and the first basis point of GAP.
So we just took all the data available and then started to study which minimum level of NPS will give us growth on the market. So below which level we just cannot go because we will lose customers and we will lose money. So this was the first threshold. And then we just looked at the other threshold that appeared from this analytics. So which steps in NPS will then give us higher growth tempo on the market. So it was quite this logic.
Great, thank you. We have another one. You did mention what is important for the customer, quality, value for money. And Michael and August here ask, how were these customer priorities determined in your case?
Customer priorities, it's loyalty drivers. Yes? Am I understand? Do I understand correctly?
Yeah, exactly.
So actually, when we identify, so I would like split customer priorities when we are talking about NPS drivers. So what drive loyalty and what drive detractors? It's one question, and business priorities for improvement is actually like another part of the story. So with the customer priorities, we have quite huge it's not only about NPS. The the research that we conduct, that our marketing department conducts every month with a lot of indicators related to brand, to product, pricing, service, and so on and so on, and many brand attributes that we measure. And then every year we just calculate NPS 3. So which indicators, which perception indicators have a stronger correlation with NPS. And actually, the picture is a little bit different from year to year, but for the last year, that was quite clear that the first priority of the customer is the network quality, voice, and with the very high rate mobile internet. Then value for money, so product and price. And then customer, the third place was support. So customer, really it's important for the customer to be sure that if something happens, that company will help him very fast, without hassle, without, so he will be have his issue solved without effort, without hassle. So this is important. And actually, another important factor was the openness and transparency regarding like relationship between operator and the customer. So transparency in bill transactions, like in service connection, disconnections, so like when customer really understands and it's very clear and like without any cheating or fraud from the operator side. So this is about identifying and loyalty drivers. But then it's important to identify improvement areas, so priority areas for improvement. And here we use actually different different information sources. So we created so-called customer experience dashboard when we integrated customer transactional data, customer contact data in different channels, call center, shops, social media, digital channels, chatbot, like self-service possibilities, and then customer types, segments, and so on. And then in the same dashboard, we have information about NPS, about customer voice, so perception metrics as well. And then we just find the reasons why customer addressed the company, reasons of calls, of contacts, and find the reasons with the biggest volume and with the lowest NPS. And this is the focus for improvement, where we are talking about customer service or about products or some particular customer journeys. And then, of course, there are some topics which are always in the top priority, like new connection process, online, offline, in all. But main source for insight and for prioritization is customer experience dashboard.
Thank you. We've got a lot of UX designers here from what I saw. So could you share how does calculating NPS benefit them?
Could you please repeat the question, or I could find it myself?
Yeah, sure. How does calculating NPS benefit
UX designers? Yeah, this is actually a very good question, because we cooperate a lot with our digital department within the company, who are responsible for like website, self-service, application, and so on. And improving customer journey and improving customer satisfaction finally increases conversion rate and the rate of buying, connecting new services, and decreases disconnection rate. So we are continuously helping our colleagues from digital and from UX to fulfill their business KPIs related to conversion and revenues.
Great. You did talk a lot about NPS. NSFE was asking what other tools do you use? And also, I think we can combine this one with Katrina's question. How do you measure the 3E you mentioned, especially customer efforts and emotion? Do you have any tool for that? Do you have any techniques you use apart from NPS?
So if we are talking about strategical KPIs. We are very much focused on NPS, but we have other perception metrics within the company, like value for money, price leadership, customer voice for service. So, but we use it as the support metrics to understand better our major loyalty KPI. And 3E we use in transactional touch point, like service, self-service, onboarding, like connecting new services, so like payments, for example, like when customer initiates and would like to do something to fulfill their service scenario, their particular customer journey. And then we keep in mind that he would like to fulfill his objective, so sufficiency, with less effort and with the high emotion level. How we measure it? We in like automated surveys, we just asking customers the 3 questions about has he fulfilled what he was aiming for. We are asking him to evaluate the effort related to this transaction and his emotional level. But also we use this 3E to compare our strategic customer journeys with competitors. And then it is a more complicated field research that we do with customers. And so then we just, in this research, we just include also these 3 questions and then just summarize it.
Okay, so it's mostly surveys and customer interviews.
Surveys, automatic surveys and customer interviews, yes, for transactional touch points.
Mm-hmm. Got it. We have another question from August here. You did mention support service. So is it possible to reduce the need for support service in the first place? If so, how has that happened in Tele2? If it did, could you share?
I think it's quite obvious ways for all the companies. So you just analyze why customers are calling and think first of all how to eliminate the reason of call. So what was the main driver, the root cause for customer, like for customer request for help? Was it a complicated process, a product, or the lack of information, or the trouble that he's facing with his equipment or internet or something else? So first of all, you just dig into the root cause, working with the relevant functions to improve customer journey, to eliminate the problem. And improving the service, it's the second step. When customer already addressed us, we should handle them properly. But main efforts, of course, are in the eliminating the reasons of contact.
Yeah, thank you. We have another question from Leah here. Do you also link anonymous pooled NPS data to business KPIs?
Of course, we have some pool of NPS data that is anonymous, but the most data, I would say 90% of data, is not anonymous. We know the customers, and we can analyze the customer profile, customer segment, customer transactional data, like the customer financial profile. So if you have this data, of course, it's much easier to dig into and find all these correlations. But if you have only anonymous data, then I think that it's very hard to work on the micro level, but you can still work on the macro level to correlate NPS with high-level business indicators like sales, churn, revenue, correlate with, so see how you move compared to other competitors in the market, look at the market share dynamics. So it's still possible.
Great. And you did mention a couple of touch points the customer touches upon when kind of working with the service or the product. Do you measure NPS on each of these touch points?
Yes. So we measure NPS like a market benchmark. It's NPS top down, it's called. We measure it like rolling quarterly with Tele2 and competitors on the market. But this data is quite limited. It's in our case, it's 3,000 responses per month, and around like 40,000 per year. So you cannot do much analytics with this data, because when you start to split it around regions, customer segment, then you might find out that there is zero response in some particular segments. So transactional NPS, what we call bottom up, according to Bain methodology, it's only measured with our own customers, so we don't have competitors' data for transactional NPS, but we can get millions and millions responses on transactional NPS. And actually, with this volume of responses, we can build whatever analytics that we need for the business. And we use bottom-up, like transactional NPS, to support, understand, and to manage the top-down and gap. Like we initiate all improvement story based on transactional NPS.
Got it. You did mention that increasing NPS and gap creates high costs. Could you elaborate on that, and how does it happen?
Yes, of course. For mobile operator, it's quite easy to put this example, and quite obvious. If we would like to increase very much NPS on mobile internet, it means that we have to build a lot of extra network capacity to cover even very distant areas, to be ahead of our competitors. And this will, of course, increase NPS and increase the gap. So customers will be happy. But what about business case? So we make sure that every dollar that we invest into the business will return back not only into the loyalty, but also into business growth, revenues, EBITDA, and so on. So there is always a balance. How much to invest into the customer happiness and to get it back as the business grows.
Got it. Thank you. We have time for two probably more questions, and this one is from Monse. What metrics do you recommend to use when introducing for the first time metrics to a business? I have 3 cases that are not used to measure any activity. I don't want to overwhelm with them. Instead, little by little, introduce them to quantitative and qualitative KPIs. So what metrics would you recommend for the first time users?
I think you can start with any metric. Just it could be NPS, CSI, customer voice, like whatever. The one important thing is that top management should have belief in this. Every department should have belief in this metric and why we started to use it and how it will help us to improve our business. And the data that we get must be actionable. So we have to have a very clear vision what we will do with the metrics that we have, with the results, what business processes will grow out of the result of this metric, and how all business units and stakeholders within the company will support this metric and work for this metric. You can start whatever from where you want if you have this alignment across the company.
Great, thank you. And the final question will be from Natalia here. How do you work with detractors?
Never a good question. We close the loop. So we really we analyze detractors. Of course, you can work with detractors even without like touching them. Just to analyze and like deep inside and find the problem areas. But we have a strong process of closing the loop. So we coming back to detractors. So we call them to understand the real reason of their unhappiness, and then we try to solve for the reason of detraction, and we try to like give customers some wow emotion, to have some loyalty present, or some kind of loyalty program for them to improve their perception. And then actually when we measure customers second, like next time, these efforts really pay back, because 50% of our customer change their perception. So 30% of detractors became promoters and 20% became neutral, and only 50% like stay not very happy.